Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. This is week 9, and we're going to start off with Thursday Night Football, and that's going to be Baltimore at Miami. So for this game, you have Baltimore favored on the money line with a spread of 7.5 and a total point line of 51.5. Just quickly looking at the rankings, you have Baltimore as one of the worst teams defensively, allowed passing rank of 27, allowed scoring rank of 30, can't stop the tight ends too well. And then offensively, don't use their tight ends very much, not very good at passing. They do have a decent rushing rank still, with Hunter Henry holding it down. And this might be expected with a lower passing rank with Lamar being out, but it looks like he'll be back, so we'll look into that soon. With Miami, you have a pretty bad team at stopping the rush, pretty bad team at stopping tight ends, not too bad at stopping the pass, but not very good at stopping their opponents for scoring. They don't use their tight ends very much, and they're not very good at passing as well. I'll just flip these over to the averages real fast, and you can pause and go through this as you need to. For the quarterbacks in this game, you have the return of Lamar Jackson, and you have Tua for the Dolphins. For the games that Lamar's been in, he's had 93.4 total season points, averaging 23.3 fantasy points per game. Tua's at 104.5 total fantasy points this season, averaging 13.1 per game. For Lamar's 4 games, he's had 1 interception and 1 fumble loss due to a sack, while Tua's had 10 interceptions and 1 fumble loss due to a sack. Moving over to your averages and your week-by-week breakdowns. And there's not much to see with the carry breakdown with these two quarterbacks. Tua just doesn't do it much, so he has about maybe 3% of the team's carry share. And with Lamar, he's been out so much that he only has about 2% at this point. So I imagine that will grow for him over time, but right now he's pretty low since he's missed so many games. For your running backs, you have Derrick Henry and Devon Achane. Henry has 92.4 total fantasy points this season, averaging 13.2. Achane has 156.4 total fantasy points this season, averaging 19.5 per game. The only turnovers between these two come from Derrick Henry, with 2 rushing fumbles lost this season. And if I move over to the averages, where you can still see the week-by-week breakdowns, and just looking at the carry share, you have Derrick Henry with almost 62% of the team's carry share, and over here with Achane, are about the same, 61.5% of the team's total carry share. This is just significant because it means that there's nobody that's really sharing the carries with them. They're kind of the primary backs. There's no committee, there's no handcuffs, so 2 running backs own most of the team's rushing. The number 1 receivers you have are Zay Flowers, and with Tyreek still out, you have Jalen Waddle. Zay Flowers has 95.6 total fantasy points this season, averaging 13.6 per game, while Waddle has 109.7 total fantasy points this season, averaging 13.7 per game. The only turnover comes from Zay Flowers, with 1 receiving fumble loss. Just flipping over to the averages that you can look at, and then looking at their team receiving share, you have Zay Flowers with 34% of the team's receiving share, and with Waddle you have 32% of the team's receiving share. For your number 2 receivers, you have Rashad Bateman and Malik Washington. Bateman has 36.1 total fantasy points this season, averaging 5.1, 5.2. Malik Washington has 56.6 total fantasy points this season, averaging 7.1 fantasy points per game. Here's their averages for the season. And if we look at their receiving share, you have Bateman down here with about 12% of the team's receiving share. And over here with Washington, it doesn't show up, but I think it's about 10, maybe a little less percent of the team's share. Finishing off with our tight ends, you have Mark Andrews. And because Julian Hill is listed as out, you have Tanner Conner. Tanner Conner's always filled in, so he doesn't have much to speak of. And I'll just switch over to his averages there. And just to see the team's receiving share, he's at 5.8% of the team's receiving share right now. With Mark Andrews, you have 57.2 total fantasy points this season, averaging 8.2 per game. With no turnovers, we'll switch over to the averages. And just looking at the team's receiving share, he's at 14.6% of the team's total receiving share. So this will be an interesting return with Lamar Jackson. I think they may still take it kind of easy with him and do a lot of rushing, especially since Miami's not very good at stopping the rush. It's their worst part of their defense. So you can imagine that that might still happen while they get Lamar Jackson back into it. But we'll see what happens. He could instead come out, feel healthy, and throw it all over the place. So we'll see what happens. So that's all I have for now. I hope that you found it useful, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment if there's more that you want to see. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for all the Sunday games.